So this video is about driving in the Philippines. I have been driving here in the city of Cebu, and most of the problems that you will encounter in driving in the Philippines is the rules does not usually been followed. The rules here, if you are in the city, the speed should be around 30 kilometers per hour. And the pinpoint of it is if there's street lights, it should be 30 is the maximum. But you see that is not followed by some motorists. They'll go speeding despite it's really traffic. Like, want to show their driving skills. And also, there are people that will meet you on your side of the road. Like motorbikes. Motorbikes will just rush through, meet you on the side of the road, and makes you go on the side further, like, you know, on the sideways of where you are, because you're trying to avoid them to meeting in the middle. And that's the problem, another problem here. And people that's crossing, like, they just like crossing, like they're crossing their lounge, and they cross everywhere. Although it's becoming stricter now, especially during it was normal during busy hours that you cannot just cross everywhere. But of course, like, people understand, even the enforcer understand that they have to warn them first, not just immediately fine them. The pedestrians will just cross on the street even though you're coming. Some of them even wait for you to come before they cross because they want to get noticed. I don't know. That's just some of the pedestrians I've noticed wait for you to go there before they cross. And that's the trouble. You will be the one, either you brake quickly or you just have to anticipate that. 9 out of 10, I will be anticipating that. And another thing, they will just overtake you, undertake you. Undertaking is a common thing because they want to be rushed. They're rushing to somewhere that they don't have time to follow the traffic rules. So that's some of the problems that you will encounter here. Like, motorbikes mostly are very, like, it doesn't seem to follow the lanes. It doesn't seem to follow the, like, you have to follow the lanes. You have to follow where you are because you're in the back. You need to wait till we pass through. Like, that car is waiting because I'm following this ambulance. But look at the delivery truck. They're trying to overtake the truck that's waiting for me to pass through. And the motorbike, look at there, is trying to find ways that they can overtake the ambulance. So that is one of the things that you will have to watch out when you're driving here in the Philippine streets. In the provinces, it's not so much traffic. That's why you can see motorbikes speeding. And also vehicles speeding. They are more lax there because there's not a lot of traffic. That's why they go speeding so much. And then you wonder why they have accidents, smack themselves on walls, get off from the road and fell over from the road. Because they're speeding so much that they lose control. Because their roads are paved, not a lot of traffic, they can speed up. And that's where their accidents happen. I know that because on top of the mountain barangays, there's a lot of motorbike accident. Like, fell off the cliff. Why fell off the cliff? Oh, speeding so much, lose control, fell off the cliff. Or fell off the ditch. Because that's the mentality that you can speed up. You can speed up as long as you know that you're safe. And also, there's a thing here that they call that when there's some areas in Cebu City before that people who are stunt people, you know, like they know that it's a car, they pretend that you knock them over, like, and then just give us a grand, it's sorted. But actually that's one of the scams that was been advertised by the traffic police office, that you need to watch out here, because scammers have this way that they practice like parkouring and on passing vehicles just to get money. And so in things like that, you need to be careful in places that they are there's usually on some certain areas here in Cebu City, like Pasil. Oh, that's what the police office was telling us before, that, and advertising on the radio, that you need to watch out about this new scam like 3 years ago about parkouring. Like they stuntmen on the street that pretend that you knock them over. Some of them really hurt themselves, but they're just like, as long as they can still recover and go on to the next victim. But now they cramp on it. It's not so much now, but there still exists that they pretend that you knock them over, like they cross when you're there. Now you can see why it's better that you have a bit of tinted windows, so nobody can see if you're driving, if you're the foreigner driving on your vehicle, because usually the target are the foreigners, because they get rattled up that you knock over. But some of them are not really the fault of the drivers, and they are just scams. So, and also I have covered this, that during an accident, it's not usually the foreigner's fault, because in the city here they can picture now what's that scene of the accident, and you can argue that it's not your fault. But most of the foreigners, that's why you can see that they think that it's the foreigner's fault, because they don't want to get bothered to going to the traffic office to argue about their case. They just want to settle it down and go on. So that's why they pay. But as a Filipino, I am talking to you that it's not usually your fault. You're here to retire, you got more time, then argue it. It's not you who's going to be paying, it's the insurance of the vehicle. That's why here in the Philippines, the ones insured is the vehicle, not the driver. The driver insurance, it's an optional thing. You can take it yourself personally. But the vehicle is required to be insured here. So during accident, it's not your fault. If it's your fault, it's your vehicle insurance should be the one paying off. And that's why you can see that, like, unlike other countries, that the driver should be the one driving the vehicle registered to him. Like my vehicle here, anyone, my family can drive this, or I could ask old Lito to drive the vehicle, because it's the vehicle that is insured. So like the multi-cab, it's registered to me, but old Lito or Junel is the one keep on driving it, picking up materials. And also sometimes they drive my old banger. So that's one thing that you need to know here, that the vehicle is the one that's registered. Although the foreigners is here, the vehicle is registered, and the vehicle is the one required to have to be insured. And you as a driver, if you want to be insured, that's your optional choice. Most foreigners that live here know that. And another thing, they also just come out of the, like, you're passing through, they know the traffic is coming, they will just insert themselves, and that's why accidents happen. So like, you keep on looking out on the side. And I learned the anticipate what's their next action. Like, you got pedestrians there, and you know that they're gonna, and you just have the hint like that, she's not gonna cross because she's still talking on the phone. But anticipating what's gonna happen, so sometimes you can see that I just slow down without you don't see any obstacle on the road because I'm looking at pedestrian that I know that's gonna be crossing soon. And like that, out of the road, another problem that you can see, pedestrians are forced to be on the road. Why? Because the pathways, if there is pathways, are used by people to display their stuff for selling or an extension of their house. And so the pedestrians are forced to be walking on the road. So that's why another thing that you need to watch out in driving here is the pedestrian now walking on the road. And you cannot blame them. Look at that woman there, just walking on the road. And this motorcycle just come out without looking that I'm coming. These are the things that you need to watch out here. And also we don't have bike lanes, motorcycle lanes, so they just insert themselves. So look at this. They are on the main streets but doing bikes. So if we're gonna have to follow the pedal power, you can't move on. So that's another thing that you need to avoid, is all these bicycle riders on the main streets. And number one here, if you smack over a person, either their fault or your fault, usually is the driver's fault. Usually you're the one end up paying when it comes to human being. So you gotta have to be aware of that one, that if you smack on someone, a person, it's usually the driver's fault, even if you argue that they're the one who's meeting you. Thank you, Dong. Okay. So I'm here now. I'll park here in Country Mall because there's the bank, my bank's the branch of my banks here. Then there's the grocery. So it's just one-stop shop. I don't want to go to Ayala because it's become further for me. I've done all the ones that I'm going down for, and I'm on the way back. Going back to my subject of talking about driving here in the Philippines, another scam that you need to watch out for. I know I'd mentioned this in the past, but it's still existing. When you go on dark places, someone will throw an egg in your windscreen. And obviously that the next instinct that a driver do is to turn on the wiper, which makes the eggs blur the windscreen. So it was done for you to get out of your car. Usually it happens at night. And please don't go on dark alleyways where they are there waiting to chuck eggs on your windscreen, because when you get down, 9 out of 10, that's when they rob you at knife point or gun point. So the purpose of them throwing your eggs on your car windscreen is to you get blurred if you use your wiper, and then you instinctively you will get down and wipe it off. Another thing is like playing on the greed of a person, and this happens to someone I know. Is like she's withdrawing on the bank and get in the car immediately. Then someone further just from the bank like pointed to her that there's some coins behind your car. Like your car, look, there's coins behind your car. So coins? So she get out of the car and check. When she go back, her purse is gone. So that's one of the scams if you are driving around here. And of course, like some people, when you're driving at night, especially women drivers, they will knock on your door and pretend to ask something. If you don't know the person, do not open. Do not even get out of the car. Lock it up. And don't just answer, because they pretend they want to ask you something, and then when you open the window, they will point a knife on you or a gun. So they are now robbing you. So better be careful when you're driving at night, especially on not well lighted places. That's where all these driving scams happen. And I started with all the expectation of when you're driving here, but then I end up with the scam, because this is all about driving here in the Philippines. I am not knocking down the Philippines because I'm a Filipino, but I'm just making you aware of what to expect, especially around the cities and even in the province road. I'll just stop here for now because I'm so thirsty. I'll just buy some. I got a few foreigners who's thinking of coming here and for the first time, and then ask me so many questions, and through emails and some in the comments. And some foreigners, like, you know, my subject about the ladyboy saying, someone was saying there that I'm desperate. Actually, if you just know, that was a subject that was asked by someone a long time ago, and I'm avoiding to address that one because I don't want to be called gender bias and all this new crap that's coming out here in our society. But no, I just have to address that because there's two now has been asking me of the same subject. It's not desperation. I could talk so many subjects, and by the end of this month, hopefully it's gonna be GCQ, that I could go back to my pricing videos, to my interview videos, and so many other videos. And soon I will be doing my building of houses. Then across there will be a quarry in front of my house that I could also have a content. It's not desperation. Like I said, this is only a hobby. What's desperation? Oh, I'm running out of rice. All beef, money. I don't need all that crap. So what's the desperation? To have views? What for? I'm not desperate. This is not my means of living. And so you must be really sad when you say that. But okay, I understand. You don't know the situation. You are branding everyone like the expats that's living on e-begging and on YouTube. But hello, I am not an expat. I'm a Filipino, and I'm not living on e-begging and YouTube. So going back to my subject of driving, I myself always aware that when it's nighttime, you know that this is the city and any danger will be lurking in the way. I know it's not there because nothing happened here around something like that happened here yet, but I know it's a possibility that it will happen. So before anything can happen, I'm already thinking about, oh, it's dark now, I don't want to pass by in some place that it's got no people that can witness anything. Or so I always wanted to pass by Pitos, even though it's so traffic there when it's nighttime, because I feel safer. Like if me and my daughter was watching late night cinema, I always go by Pitos. So I am meeting this 10-wheeler. There's two places here making hollow blocks, but I'm not getting my hollow blocks here because they are those sort that's really weak. So that's what I can say about those people is driving in the Philippines safe, because I think when they come here and live for the 6 months because they want to try living here in the Philippines, they want to try driving. And also as a foreigner, of course you're a target for some it's your fault, so they can extort from you. But you gotta remember, as a foreigner, it's not your fault. The law, traffic law applies the same. Now, if it's not your fault, you don't have to pay. And you make sure that you don't pay because it's not your fault. Why should you pay for something that's not your fault? Because I had seen some stories, or I've seen videos, stories of foreigners. It's not their fault, a traffic accident, but they end up paying. I just can't understand the logic on that one, because otherwise, if your attitude is like that because you feel sorry for the person that you had involved with an accident, so you pay even if it's not your fault, then they will seek you. What I mean is, they know it will come around that you will be paying even if it's not your fault. Some people take advantage of that kind of situation. They know you're weak, and then they will seek you. You become the Suki. Suki is regular customer, does that mean? And Suki is a regular extortion customer. So you will be like, they seek you, so they'll have like an involved accident, so they can extort you. So don't ever get yourself involved in those kind of situation. And like, they you get scared of something, and or some extortions happen and it's blatantly extortion, and you just pay because you don't want trouble, then you will become a Suki. It's not only among local Filipinos, it can also be among people on higher authorities. So I'm not saying Filipino, local, it can be a Filipino on higher authorities that also will make you as a Suki. So as long as you keep yourself to yourself, if you're living here, and then let the Filipina lead the way, then you'll be okay. And do not expect too much of the Western world ways around here. You accept the culture, the traditions, and you can survive. You'll be alright. I have to go because they are cutting the tree where I park here, because they're selling the tamarind trees and mahogany trees. They're cutting there for firewood and chopping board, because the best chopping board, they said, is tamarind trees. So I'm going back up now, and I've just checked the progress of my gate that I ordered. So on the way up, on the way home, and I'll be checking on my fencing project.